Hey guys, what's going on here? It's really cold. I have a scarf on. Shanghai with freezing temperature. But despite being so cold, it's still a very beautiful sight to behold. You know, January 6th, Capitol Hill being stormed. What a beautiful sight to behold. Nancy Pelosi. Well, it's very ironic they call it a Hong Kong. It's like when she said that, oh, that's so beautiful how these rioters destroying Hong Kong City. What do you say now in what's happening in Capitol Hill? They didn't say, it's a beautiful sight, but instead they call these guys what? Rioters, domestic terrorism, vandalism. That's a mild word, vandalism. So yeah, they don't call these guys like heroes, freedom fighters, They were actually fighting for their freedom because, from what I've heard, the elections being stolen by voter frauds and stuff, apparently. But that's not my problem. But there's so much hypocrisy and double standard, every time whenever Nancy Pelosi speaks up. Um, I think I've seen that woman before. That was like way back. I was working like 15 years ago. Not 50, but 15 years ago. I used to work on a lot of governmental projects in San Francisco. I used to have meetings at the San Francisco City Hall. And back then, her name was always on the ballots and stuff. So, and I knew what she looked like, but by that time she wasn't that famous, I guess. And yeah, that was I think 2005. So we had all this like a lot of meetings there at the City Hall in San Francisco, and I've seen her one time um, in City Hall inside the building, and yeah, I didn't know she would become so famous after 50 years. But anyways, let's go back to the double standards we have seen Hong Kong versus uh, the what happened at Capitol Hill. Basically, the U.S. Uh, said, that Hong Kong police used a lot of violence, you know, and that protest, these riots were ongoing for like almost a year, and nobody died actually. None of the protesters died, but there were actually uh, some people who died because of the violence of the rioters, But none of these rioters died because of police violence or anything. I believe there was maybe just one gunshot that was fired on that idiot that attacked the police, like a bunch of them. I think, what, seven of them or five of them like ran towards the cop and was chasing them with all these like weapons and stuff. And that was, yeah, his life was pretty much in danger. And then he had like a backup, like police officers came to help him. And then one of the protester rioters, he was actually gonna hit the police officer with a stick. So the police officer fired a shot and hit him in the chest, and then he survived. And apparently this guy, he didn't even go to prison right now. I'm not sure if that's the case still going, but he apparently he's running freely around, and he's like applying for asylum in the United States and got rejected. So I think they're in a process to incarcerate this guy, but I don't know. But anyways, so that was the only like severe incident like where a shot was fired. Okay, let's compare with the United States. Um, only it took one day, 4 people died, and I saw that scene when they actually killed that woman. Now you can debate about whether this is necessary. I'm not sure if I can find this clip or I've seen it. If I can find this, I can show it to you. This woman was shot on point, like between the doors, basically, and there were actually glasses on at the door, and then they were breaking the glasses, and this cop was like behind the door, and then he was like shooting at her, and she died right away at the spot. So was it necessary? Well, not as severe, like in terms of life threatening as the police in Hong Kong. He actually, was threatened by what, 5 guys with like weapon stuff, versus what happened at Capitol Hill was like there was a door in between, and they had guns, and the protesters were outside and then banging with their sticks or whatever. So is that life threatening? I mean, had a gun, but then the door was closed, and that guy was like shooting through the glass, and then that woman died right away. Okay, that's just to compare, what's happening, like, and then in Hong Kong there were foreign forces like helping protesters how to train them, and helping them to conduct all these like demonstration riots. Yeah, and that happened like throughout an entire year, and then nobody died, and then a lot of violence against innocent people who were like neutral or against these rioters. Uh, so within just one day, and then I believe the National Guard was there like later on. So imagine, like, China didn't use any like their army, the PLA, no, liberation, yeah, no, Liberation Army, yeah, People's Liberation Army, PLA, yeah, they didn't use any of the army, but then actually I believe the National Guard was in place actually, not on time though. So what else happened? So they actually have Senator Marco Rubio actually fly to Hong Kong, and then instigate more hate, and then trying to separate, destabilize the region. So can you imagine, like, China sent somebody to the States, some politician said like, "Good job, guys. Here's some money. Here's some money. Here's some support. Just good luck. Yeah, if you go to prison, tough luck. If you succeed, if you need some help, I might sponsor you. If you get in trouble with some green card and stuff, Marco Rubio." I think Nancy Pelosi even flew there, to Hong Kong, or had like a meeting with that Joshua Wong, yeah, that, and yeah, can you imagine like some really important politicians would fly to the U.S., I mean, from China, and then support these guys, and then here's some Chinese flag, just go around, and yeah, there would be some Americans like walking around with Russian flags and Chinese flags, and oh yes, let's uh, storm the Capitol Hill and overthrow the government. What else is just the double standard. Police violence. They, yeah, criticize. Now what happens to? Oh, they're gonna get like the guys who storm, vandalize the Capitol Hill building. They're gonna get into serious trouble. And what happens in Hong Kong is like these guys were arrested, but then there were, I think the lawyers gave them a very lenient sentence, because they were actually behind that. So they were kind of, I'm not sure how the justice system works in Hong Kong, but they, they could have faced like very severe sentences, but then apparently a lot of people who were supposed to go to prison for, even for homicide, some of these guys, and they were only getting like very lenient sentences. So